This video is about he was a seamstress until a philanthropist made him a director. If this story inspires you, please like the video, share it with loved ones, and write in the comments how it touched your heart. In a small, sun-drenched town named Willow Creek, where the gentle breeze whispered secrets among the willows, a humble seamster named Elias labored tirelessly. His hands, calloused and skilled, worked magic over fabric. Each stitch embodied his dreams, hopes, and the memories of his late mother, who had first placed a needle in his hand. Elias learned the art of sewing from his mother, who had once run a small dressmaking shop. When he was a boy, he would watch her transform simple fabrics into ethereal gowns. Each piece tells a story, she would say, her eyes sparkling with warmth. With every garment she created, she stitched love into the seams, and that love became part of the fabric of their small community. As the years rolled on, Elias continued her legacy. He set up a modest workshop on the town's main street. The walls were adorned with fabric swatches and sketches of dresses, while the air carried the scent of fresh cotton and the faint sound of his sewing machine humming a calming tune. Despite his talent, the business barely kept him afloat. "Elias, you should consider making a website," suggested his friend Sarah, a local graphic designer. She often popped by with fresh coffee and encouragement. "You have a gift, more people need to see it." Elias chuckled softly. "I appreciate it, Sarah, but I am just a seamstress. I don't think anyone outside Willow Creek would be interested." "Stop selling yourself short," she replied, her voice firm yet kind. "You read more than that, you create beauty." It was true that Elias had dreams beyond the confines of his workshop. He wanted to inspire others, especially the children of Willow Creek, who often came to him to learn the art of sewing. He could picture a place where creativity bloomed, where kids could gather after school, their laughter floating like music on the breeze. One rainy afternoon, while Elias worked on a wedding gown for a local bride, the town's renowned philanthropist, Mr. Bennett, strolled into his shop. Tall and imposing, with silver hair that gleamed under the fluorescent lights, Mr. Bennett was known for his charitable endeavors. Elias felt the weight of his presence. "I've heard about your work, Elias," Mr. Bennett remarked, scanning the rows of colorful fabrics. "You read quite the artist." Elias blushed, fidgeting with the loose thread. "Thank you, sir. I just try to do my best." "Have you ever thought about expanding your business?" Mr. Bennett asked, his voice deep and steady. "Honestly, I don't know how. I can sew, but running a business is different," Elias admitted, his heart racing. Mr. Bennett leaned closer. "What if I told you that with some help, you could turn your shop into a community center for creativity, a place for kids to learn, to grow?" Elias's heart swelled with hope. It felt like a dream woven from the fabric of his own desires and the laughter of children. "You mean a sewing school?" "Yes, exactly. We could secure funding, get supplies, and provide scholarships for those who can't afford to pay. You could be the director, Elias. You'd bring life to this town." The idea took root in Elias's mind, but fear quickly followed. "What if I mess it up? What if no one shows up?" "Fear is a part of growth," Mr. Bennett said. "You wouldn't be alone. I would guide you every step of the way. Remember, every great seamstress started with a single stitch." Days turned into weeks as Elias weighed his options. He couldn't shake the image of a vibrant workshop filled with eager children, their eyes wide with wonder, learning to stitch their dreams into reality. Finally, one evening, after watching a group of kids play in the park, he made a decision. "I am in," he told Mr. Bennett over coffee the next day. "Let us do this." The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of activity. Mr. Bennett introduced Elias to people who could help him, from local contractors to marketing specialists. They secured a larger space, filled with light and laughter, a perfect backdrop for creativity to flourish. Elias felt both exhilarated and terrified. As the opening day approached, he found himself awake at night, swirling in doubts. "What if I fail them?" he whispered to himself, heart racing. One evening, Sarah stopped by to help him prepare for the grand opening. She noticed the tension etched in his brow. "Elias, talk to me. I am afraid I won't be able to make this work. What if no one shows up? What if they don't like what I teach?" Elias confessed, his voice trembling. "Remember why you started," she said gently. "You're not just teaching sewing. You're sharing your love for it, inspiring others. That's what counts." On the day of the grand opening, the sun shone brightly, casting a golden hue over Willow Creek. Elias stood outside the newly painted studio, heart fluttering like a butterfly. The door swung open, and a stream of children poured in, their excitement palpable. They were curious, bright-eyed, and ready to learn. "Welcome, everyone," Elias called out, his voice steadying as he looked around. Today, we're going to make our very own creations. As the first session began, Elias guided the children with patience and warmth. He taught them how to thread needles, measure fabric, and use scissors without fear. Laughter filled the room, mingling with the clatter of machines. "Can I make a costume for my dog?" a little girl named me asked, her eyes sparkling. "Absolutely." Elias smiled, heart swelling with joy. It was moments like these that reaffirmed his purpose. But challenges soon emerged. A week into the program, a sudden storm hit Willow Creek, causing flooding that disrupted the town's power supply. The workshop was left in darkness, and the children's laughter faded as they stayed home, unsure when they could return. Elias felt the burden of this setback weighing heavily on him. What if they lose interest? What if we lose everything? He pondered, wrestling with despair. But Sarah reminded him. "You told me that sewing is about resilience, right? You can stitch this back together, Elias. We can find a way." Taking her words to heart, Elias organized a community fundraiser. He reached out to local businesses, encouraging them to donate supplies and services. Slowly, hope began to weave its way back into the fabric of the workshop. On the night of the fundraiser, the community came alive. Tables filled with handmade goods lined the streets, and music drifted through the warm evening air. Elias stood before a crowd, his heart racing again. "I want to thank each and every one of you for being here," he said, voice trembling yet firm. "This isn't just about sewing, it's about creating a safe space for our children to dream and grow. Together, we can make that happen." As the evening unfolded, the townspeople shared stories of how sewing had positively impacted their lives. The warmth of connection filled the air, stitching the community closer together. By the end of the night, they had raised enough funds to repair the workshop and invest in new supplies. Elias felt a surge of gratitude wash over him. Thank you all," he cried as the applause roared around him. "This means the world to me." As the night faded into dawn, Elias realized that this journey was not just about teaching sewing, but also about resilience, connection, and the beauty of community. Together, they had sewn a tapestry of hope that would inspire generations to come. And as he returned to his workshop, Elias understood that he was not merely a seamstress anymore, he was a director of dreams, armed with the power to change lives, one stitch at a time. The months that followed the grand reopening of Elias' workshop were an exhilarating blur. As the sun rose each morning over Willow Creek, its rays seemed to paint the town in vibrant hues, much like the fabrics that adorned Elias' studio. Children filled the space with laughter and creativity, every corner alive with the sound of machines humming and scissors snipping. One afternoon, as Elias was helping Mia fit a costume for her dog, the door swung open, and in walked Mr. Bennett, a warm smile on his face. "Hi," asked my favorite workshop director, he asked, a twinkle in his eyes. "Busy as always," Elias replied, his heart swelling at the sight of the man who had believed in him. "We've been working on a community quilt. Each child is contributing a square that represents their dreams." "Such a wonderful idea," Mr. Bennett exclaimed. "It's incredible to witness how this place has come alive." He glanced around, observing children deep in concentration, their fingers dancing over fabric. As the weeks turned into months, Elias encountered challenges that tested his resolve. One day, just as he was finishing a lesson, the power flickered and went out. The room fell into an eerie hush, the whir of sewing machines replaced by silence. The children exchanged anxious glances, their faces reflecting confusion. It dawned to worry everyone. Elias called out, trying to maintain a brave face. "We'll take a break and enjoy some snacks outside until the power comes back. Let us gather our thoughts and share our favorite memories from sewing." As they settled on the grass, he encouraged them to share stories. The laughter returned, filling the air with life. "I made a pillow for my grandma," one boy exclaimed, his eyes shining with pride. Me chimed in, "and I am making a cape for my dog." Elias sat back, heart warmed by their enthusiasm. However, the power outage stretched into hours, and the shadows of uncertainty crept into his mind. What if they lost interest? What if the children didn't return? That evening, Sarah met him for coffee. Seeing the weight on his shoulders, she nudged. "What is wrong, Elias?" "It's just the power was out for too long. What if they stopped coming? What if this was a fleeting dream?" he confessed, his voice tinged with worry. "Elias, remember how far you've come. This place is more than just a workshop. It's a sanctuary for them. Kids don't forget the moments they've shared," Sarah reassured him, gently placing her hand on his. "You their guide, and you're doing beautifully." Her faith rekindled a spark within him. "You right, I can't let fear dictate my path," he resolved. The next day, he organized a sewing picnic in the park, inviting the children for a day of fun, creativity, and camaraderie. The sun shone brightly as they gathered under the trees, laughter ringing through the air. Providing fabric and supplies, Elias guided them as they created little crafts, banners, hats, and even friendship bracelets. As they worked, he noticed how creativity bridged their hearts, each child's personality reflected in their creations. "Look, Elias, I made a crown that says Queen," a girl squealed, holding it high with delight. "Now you read the Queen of Creativity." Elias chuckled, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over him. As the days turned to weeks, and the children returned to the workshop for more lessons, Elias decided it was time to take the next step. Inspired by their excitement, he announced the community fashion show to showcase everything they had made. "We'll design outfits, costumes, and even the quilt. It will be our celebration of dreams, and everyone in the town is invited," Elias proclaimed, his heart racing with anticipation. "Can I make a dress for my sister?" Mia asked, jumping up and down with excitement. "Absolutely, let us get started," Elias replied, his spirit lifting as they delved into planning. The preparations brought the community together. Parents volunteered to help, local businesses offered sponsorships, and the town buzzed with enthusiasm. Soon, the day of the fashion show approached, and Elias found himself swept up in a whirlwind of activity. But there were moments of doubt that crept in. Alone in the workshop late one night, he stared at the piles of fabric and sketches scattered across the table. "What if it is a disaster?" he whispered, the fear threatening to overwhelm him. Suddenly, Sarah's words echoed in his mind. "You're not just teaching sewing, you're sharing your love for it." He took a deep breath, remembering the joy the workshop had brought to the children and how it had woven the community closer together. On the day of the fashion show, the air buzzed with excitement. Families filled the seats, and a stage adorned with vibrant fabric stood ready to showcase the children's creativity. As Elias stood backstage, the butterflies in his stomach fluttered wildly. "Elias, you've got this," Sarah said, giving him an encouraging nudge. "Look at all the smiles out there." As the show began, the children walked onto the stage, wearing their creations with pride. Elias beamed as he watched them, each child glowing with confidence. Mia twirled in her colorful dog costume, while another boy strutted in a superhero outfit, his face beaming with joy. "Look, Mom, I made this," one child shouted, feeling the rush of applause. The audience erupted in cheers, and Elias felt his heart swell with warmth. This was what it was all about, empowering the next generation to believe in their dreams. When it was time for the community quilt to be unveiled, Elias took a deep breath, stepping forward. "Thank you all for being here today. This quilt isn't just a collection of squares, it has a tapestry of our dreams, our stories, and our community." As the quilt was unveiled, gasps of admiration filled the room. Each square represented a child's dream, stitched with love and hope. Tears glistened in some eyes, while others clapped joyfully. Elias felt a rush of emotion, knowing this moment was a testament to resilience and unity. "Together, we've recreated something beautiful," he said, voice trembling with gratitude. "Let us continue to dream, to create, and to support one another." After this show, he stood amidst a throng of happy children and parents, overwhelmed by the sense of belonging. Mr. Bennett approached him, pride sparkling in his eyes. "You've done something remarkable, Elias. You've transformed this town." "I couldn't have done it without the community," Elias replied, humility coloring his voice. As months turned to years, the workshop continued to flourish. Elias became a beacon of hope, teaching not just sewing but lessons of resilience, kindness, and the power of dreams. Children grew up, carrying the values they learned into the world, inspired by the man who once stitched fabric but now stitched lives together. One evening, a young girl named Clara shyly approached him after class. "Elias, can I tell you something?" she asked, gripping her fabric tightly. "Of course, Clara. What is on your mind?" he encouraged, kneeling down to her level. "I want to be a seamstress like you when I grow up. Can I come back and teach someday?" Her eyes shone with ambition. "Absolutely, I'd be honored," Elias replied, his heart bursting with pride. "You will be a wonderful teacher one day." And as he watched her walk away, the gentle wind rustling the fabric around him, Elias realized that this journey was never just about sewing. It was about weaving lives together, threading hope and inspiration into the very fabric of Willow Creek. From a humble seamstress to a director of dreams, Elias had discovered that the beauty of the human spirit lies in resilience and connection. And with each stitch, he helped others embrace their potential, reminding them that together they could create something extraordinary. As the seasons changed and the vibrant colors of autumn set in, the workshop in Willow Creek bustled with activity. Elias had become a familiar figure in the town, his heart woven into every fabric that surrounded him. Children and adults alike found solace and inspiration in his creative haven. Each day brought new challenges, yet they were met with an unwavering spirit that thrived on resilience. One crisp morning, as golden leaves danced outside the windows, Elias gathered the children around a large table. Today, he announced, we were going to embark on a special project. We'll create something to donate to those in need this winter, a warm blanket for the shelter. Me's eyes sparkled with excitement. Can we pick our own colors? Absolutely. I want everyone to express themselves, he encouraged, watching as they scrambled toward the fabric shelves with glee. He smiled, remembering his own childhood, the joy of creativity igniting a sense of belonging. However, as the days turned into weeks, the workshop began to face a new kind of challenge. As winter arrived, the town felt the pinch of economic hardship. Some families who once thrived now struggled to make ends meet. A moment in the workshop began to dwindle, and Elias sensed the unease creeping in. One afternoon, after a particularly low turnout, Elias sat on a stool, staring at the empty chairs. What if people don't see the need for this place anymore? He pondered aloud. What if I am failing them? Sarah, who had become a constant presence in his life, walked in just then. Elias, what has happened? She asked, noticing his furrowed brow. He sighed deeply, rubbing his temples. The kids some have dropped out because their families can't pay for classes. I worry they'll forget this place, forget what we created together. Elias, she said, sitting beside him, this workshop is more than just classes. It is about kindness, support, and community. They won't forget what they've learned here. I know, but... His voice trailed off. The weight of responsibility bore heavily on his shoulders. Let us do something together. We can reach out to families, offer scholarships, and host a free community day, Sarah suggested brightly, her eyes alight with possibility. We can remind people of what this place means. With renewed purpose, Elias and Sarah rolled up their sleeves. They organized the community day, inviting everyone in Willow Creek to partake in a day of free sewing lessons, crafts, and a potluck where families could share their favorite dishes. The word spread quickly, rekindling hope among the townspeople. On the day of the event, Elias stood at the entrance, his heart racing as families began to arrive. The air was thick with laughter and the aroma of home-cooked meals. Children bounded in, their eyes alight with excitement, and Elias' spirit lifted with every smiling face. Welcome, everyone, he called out, his voice echoing through the workshop. Today is about sharing our love for creativity. Let us get started. As the hours passed, the workshop filled with the sound of chatter, sewing machines whirring, and the occasional burst of laughter. Elias felt his worries melt away as he watched parents and children work together, transforming fabric into creations that reflected their hearts. Can we make a quilt together, Elias? Mia asked, her hands busy stitching colorful squares. Of course, he replied, smiling at her enthusiasm. Let us add a square for each family. It will be a community quilt, just like the one we made before. As they collaborated, Elias shared stories of the quilt's significance. Each square will hold a memory, a dream, and a piece of each of our lives. It is a reminder that no matter how tough things get, we be stronger together. When the quilt was finally complete, Elias stood before the community, a smile beaming on his face. This quilt represents our unity, our resilience, and our unwavering spirit. Thank you for reminding me what this workshop is all about. Can we donate it to the shelter? The boy shouted, raising his hand eagerly. Elias felt a lump in his throat. What a beautiful idea. Yes, we will bring this quilt to those who need it most. The applause echoed in the room, resonating with a shared sense of purpose. As winter deepened, the quilt became a symbol of warmth and hope. Families continued to come into the workshop, drawn by the spirit of community that Elias had nurtured. Children returned with friends, excited to learn and create. They didn't just make items, they crafted memories, friendships, and stories that would last a lifetime. But as the snow began to blanket Willow Creek, another challenge loomed ahead. A notice arrived from the town council announcing funding cuts to community programs, including the workshop Elias had built. The news hit him like a winter storm, leaving him stunned. The following day, he gathered the children, their faces filled with joy, and felt a pang of guilt. I wish I had better news, he said, his voice trembling. There is a chance we might have to close the workshop or limit our classes. Gasps erupted around him, and Mia's eyes filled with tears. No, what about the quilt? What about all our products? Elias felt the weight of their dreams resting on his shoulders. I promise I will do everything I can to keep this place open. We've built something beautiful together, and it is worth fighting for. After the meeting with the council, Elias sat at his desk, staring at the stack of bills and budget reports. Frustration boiled within him as he realized he couldn't do it alone. He remembered Mr. Bennett's words from the first day they had met: fear is a part of growth. With Sarah by his side, he formulated a plan. Let us organize a town hall meeting. We'll show them what this workshop has done for the community. We'll remind them of the lives we've touched. Days turned into a whirlwind of preparation. They gathered stories from parents, testimonials from children, and even photographs of the community quilt. On the day of the meeting, Elias stood nervously before the council, flanked by support from the townsfolk. "Thank you for allowing us to speak today," he began, his voice steadying. "This workshop is not just a place where we sew, it is a sanctuary for our children, a testament to our community spirit." He shared the stories of the children who had grown in confidence, the families brought together by creativity, and the warmth of the community quilt that now adorned the shelter. The council members listened, their expressions shifting from skepticism to understanding. "Together, we have built something that transcends fabric and thread," Elias continued, his passion igniting the room. "Let us invest in our community, not cut it. Let us create opportunities for our children, not limit them." As he concluded, the room erupted in applause, and Elias felt a surge of hope wash over him. The council deliberated, and in a surprising turn, they agreed to reallocate funds to keep the workshop funded for the next year. Elias could hardly believe it, his heart soared with gratitude. When he returned to the workshop, the children awaited him eagerly. "What happened, Elias?" He asked, eyes wide with anticipation. "We did it," he exclaimed, beaming with joy. "The workshop is safe for another year." Cheers erupted, and the workshop pulsed with energy. Elias remembered Sarah's words during their darkest moments: "You read their guide." He realized that together they had built not just a workshop but a family. As spring approached, the workshop flourished, becoming a hub of creativity and inspiration for Willow Creek. Elias expanded the programs, introducing new classes, guest speakers, and even art exhibitions featuring the children's work. One day, a young boy named Lucas approached him, holding a crumpled paper in his hands. "Elias, I wrote a story about the workshop. Can I read it to you?" "Of course, Lucas, I'd love to hear it," Elias said, kneeling down to meet his gaze. With a nervous smile, Lucas began. "Once upon a time, there was a magical place where dreams were stitched together. In this place, kids learned to create beautiful things. They made quilts that brought warmth to the chilly nights." As Lucas continued, Elias felt tears prick at his eyes. This was a legacy he had hoped to create, a space where kindness, creativity, and community intertwined. "Do you think other kids will come here too someday?" Lucas asked, his voice small but hopeful. "I believe they will," Elias replied, his heart brimming with conviction. "As long as we keep our doors open and our hearts full, this place will always be magical." As the sun set behind Willow Creek, Elias knew that this journey was far from over. Together, they had woven a beautiful tapestry, one stitch at a time, proving that hope is not just found in dreams but in the strength of a community that believes in each other. The workshop in Willow Creek had transformed into a beacon of hope, where creativity flourished amid sincere laughter and learning. Under the soft glow of twinkling fairy lights strewn across the ceiling, Elias watched as children eagerly gathered around tables cluttered with colorful fabrics, threads, and sewing machines. But as the days turned into weeks, the whisper of economic hardship swept through the community once again. Families who had been thriving found themselves grappling with uncertainties, and soon, the familiar faces in the workshop began to dwindle. Elias felt a knot tightening in his stomach. The workshop that had become a home for dreams now felt fragile, as if it could crumble under the weight of the world outside. One rainy afternoon, as he arranged fabric swatches, Elias glanced at the empty chairs, each one a reminder of the children who once filled the space with chatter. How did we come to this? He wondered, his fingers absent-mindedly tracing the edge of a bright quilt. What if the kids stopped coming? What if Ivy failed them? Just then, Sarah stepped through the threshold, shaking off her umbrella and glancing around. "Elias, why so glum?" she asked, concern etching her features. He sighed deeply. "The attendance is dropping, Sarah. Some families simply can't afford the classes anymore. I am worried they'll all forget this place, forget the joy they found here." "Elias," she said, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder, "this workshop is about so much more than that. It has a sanctuary, a lifeline. They won't forget." "But what can we do?" he replied, his voice a mixture of frustration and helplessness. "I don't have the funds to keep it running indefinitely." A thoughtful expression crossed Sarah's face. What if we reach out to the community? We can organize some kind of event to raise awareness, share what we've rebuilt here. People need to understand the importance of this place. Elias looked at her, hope flickering like a candle in the dark. You really think that could work? Absolutely. Let us put together a community day, free classes, sewing demonstrations, and maybe a potluck where everyone brings their favorite dish. We can remind them of what this workshop means to Willow Creek. Energized by the idea, Elias nodded. Let us do it. We'll show everyone that creativity is vital, especially in tough times. In the following days, they poured their hearts into planning the event. Flyers were printed, calls were made, and excitement began to buzz through the town like electricity. As they prepared, Elias felt a renewed sense of purpose. Perhaps, just perhaps, they could reignite the community's love for the workshop. The day of the community day dawned bright and clear, the sun casting a warm glow over Willow Creek. Elias stood outside the workshop, watching families trickle in, their laughter mingling with the scent of freshly baked goods wafting through the air. His heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Welcome, everyone, he called out, his voice ringing with enthusiasm. Today is all about celebrating creativity and community. Let us get started. The workshop buzzed with energy as children and parents dove into sewing projects, laughter echoing off the walls. Elias moved from table to table, guiding and encouraging, his spirit lifting with each smile he encountered. Can we make a quilt together? May asked, her eyes shining with excitement as she held a stack of colorful fabric. Absolutely. Let us create a community quilt. Each family can add their own square, Elias replied, feeling warmth bloom in his chest. It will be a beautiful representation of our unity. As they stitched together, Elias shared the significance of the quilt, explaining how each square would hold a memory, a dream, and a piece of their lives. The children listened raptly, and Elias felt the importance of their work settle over them like a comforting blanket. Look, Elias, my square says believe, Mia exclaimed, her heart swelling with pride. Perfect, he beamed. Belief is what keeps us going, and this quilt will remind us of that. Hours flew by, and as the day drew to a close, the community gathered to admire their handiwork. The quilt, now filled with colorful patches, embodied not only their creativity but their resilience in the face of uncertainty. This quilt is amazing, their mother exclaimed, her eyes glistening with emotion. It represents our hope for better days ahead. Elias felt a lump rise in his throat. Thank you, everyone. This means more than you know. Together, we've created something beautiful. Days turned into weeks, and the workshop began to regain its rhythm. Families returned, and laughter filled the air once more. However, just as they were finding their footing, a letter arrived from the town council that sent a chill down Elias' spine. Funding cuts to community programs, including his workshop, were on the horizon. The news hit him hard. That evening, he sat alone in the workshop, the flickering light casting shadows on the walls, and wondered how to break the news to the children. He felt as if he were teetering on the edge of a precipice. What if I can keep this place open? He whispered to the empty room, despair creeping into his heart. The next morning, he gathered the children, their bright faces filled with enthusiasm. Kids, we have some challenges ahead, he began slowly, his heart heavy. The town council had announced funding cuts. We might have to limit classes or even close the workshop. Gasps rippled through the group, and he saw Mia's face crumple in sadness. No, we can't lose this place, she exclaimed, tears pooling in her eyes. Elias felt the weight of their dreams bearing down on him. I promise I will do everything I can to keep this place open. We've built something beautiful together, and it is worth fighting for. That night, Elias met with Sarah at their favorite coffee shop, his heart still reeling from the day's revelations. I can't let this place close, he said, his voice choked with emotion. I don't know how to fight this battle. You're not alone in this, Elias, Sarah replied, her voice steady with resolve. We're going to show them why this workshop is essential. Let us organize a town hall meeting. With renewed determination, they began to plan. Together, they gathered testimonials from parents, stories from children, and even photographs depicting the vibrant life of the workshop. They wanted to showcase the impact of creativity on the community, reminding everyone of the ties that bound them together. On the day of the town hall meeting, Elias stood before the council, flanked by a sea of supporters from Willow Creek. His heart raced as he prepared to speak. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to share our story, he began. This workshop is not just about sewing, it is about creating a safe space for our children, a testament to our community's spirit. He shared heartfelt stories of how the workshop had transformed lives, the shy child who gained confidence, the friendships forged over fabric, and the resilience that had blossomed amid challenges. As he spoke, he saw the faces of the townsfolk nodding in agreement, their eyes reflecting the same passion he felt. Together, he implored, "We have built something that transcends fabric and thread. Let us invest in our community, not cut it. Let us create opportunities for our children, not limit them." When he finished, the room erupted in applause. The council members exchanged glances, murmurs of consideration rippling through the audience. Finally, one of the members stood up, a thoughtful expression on his face. "We need to reconsider this decision. This workshop is a vital part of our community." As hope surged within him, Elias felt tears prick at his eyes. They had done it. The council deliberated for a while longer, and in a surprising turn, they agreed to reallocate funds to keep the workshop running for another year. When Elias returned to the workshop, he was met with eager faces. "What happened? Did you save the workshop?" May asked, her eyes wide with anticipation. "We did it," he exclaimed, unable to contain his joy. "The workshop is safe for another year." The cheers that erupted filled the room with life once more. The children hugged him tightly, their laughter echoing through the walls. "We're not going to lose this place," one child shouted. As months turned into a year, the workshop continued to blossom. Elias expanded the programs, introducing new classes and guest speakers, all while focusing on community involvement. He realized that this journey was never just about sewing, it was about weaving lives together, threading hope and inspiration into the fabric of Willow Creek. One day, as he was tidying up the workshop, a young girl named Clara approached him, her hands trembling slightly as she gripped a piece of paper. "Elias, can I read you something I wrote?" she asked shyly. "Of course, Clara," he said, kneeling down to her level. With a deep breath, she began reading her story about a magical workshop where dreams were stitched together. In this place, kids learned to create beautiful things. They made quilts that brought warmth to chilly nights and friendships that lasted forever. As her words flowed, Elias felt tears welling in his eyes. This is the legacy he had hoped to create, a space where kindness, creativity, and community intertwined.